It feels like everywhere you look in cricket these days, you see T20 leagues popping up and grabbing attention.
Yeah, they really are exploding in popularity all over the world.
But if you had to pick two that are consistently part of the conversation, it's got to be the Indian Premier League and the Pakistan Super League.
For sure, no question about that.
So for this deep dive, you send over some fascinating articles and data that give us a snapshot of where both these leagues are as of right now, April 2025.
Right. And I think it's a particularly interesting time to compare and contrast them.
The goal here is to really dissect what sets them apart, how they operate, and ultimately, just give everyone a clearer picture of where each one sits within the global cricket scene.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So let's start with the basics. Like the IPL, according to what we've got here, began back in 2008.
Okay.
So we're talking 18 seasons organized by the BCCI with a pretty impressive 10 teams competing.
Yeah, that kind of history gives the IPL a huge head start.
Yeah.
You know, all those years to build up the infrastructure, the fan base, the whole economic engine behind it all, that's a lot to compete with.
Definitely. And then you've got the PSL, which launched in 2016 by the PCB, so significantly newer, right?
Yeah.
It's got 9 seasons under its belt, the 10th one coming up this year, but with only 6 teams.
I think that right there,
Yeah.
the difference in how long they've been around and the number of teams is a really fundamental difference in the scale of these two leagues.
Absolutely. And scale, it kind of leads us right into what might be the most eye-popping difference, the financial side of things.
For sure.
The IPL's valuation is somewhere around $10.7 billion.
Wow.
It's a massive number. And then their media rights deal, it's a staggering $6.2 billion over 5 years, so like $1.24 billion annually.
Yeah, it's almost mind-boggling to think about.
It really is. And for comparison, the entire valuation of the PSL, according to our sources, is closer to $330 million.
Good.
And their domestic media rights bring in roughly $11.25 million per year.
It's not even really a comparison, is it?
It's not even in the same ballpark. I mean, it's a totally different order of magnitude.
Yeah.
And this financial gap has a direct impact on the players themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
IPL teams have a salary cap of about 100 crore rupees, which is roughly $12.5 million per team.
Okay.
And we're seeing individual players getting these unbelievable salaries, like Rishabh Pant at 27 crore this year. That's over $3.2 million.
It's an insane amount of money.
It is. And the PSL, they operate on a different system altogether, right, with a player draft.
Yeah.
And the highest earners there in that platinum category, they're looking at somewhere between $130,000 and $170,000, which translates to about 1.4 to 2.6 crore rupees.
Right. So still a really good living, obviously, but nowhere near those top IPL contracts.
Not even close. And you know what this means is that the IPL, with all that money, they can consistently attract and keep hold of the best players in the world.
Yeah, they could just about pick and choose whoever they want.
Exactly. And it's not just the players. Even the prize money for winning the whole thing tells a story.
Oh, definitely.
The 2024 IPL champions took home 20 crore rupees, which is $2.4 million. The PSL winners got 4.13 crore, about $500,000.
I think it's really interesting here is how that financial reality affects the ambitions and just the day-to-day running of each league.
Right.
The IPL, with that huge revenue, they could invest heavily, not just in players, but in infrastructure marketing, even grassroots development things that the PSL, with its tighter budget, might have to prioritize differently.
Yeah, makes sense. So let's move on and talk about the fans, the people actually watching all this action.
Okay.
The viewership numbers are pretty telling. Just in 2024, the IPL season, on one single digital platform, JioCinema pulled in a whopping 620 million viewers.
Wow.
And that's a 38% jump from the previous year. What do you think's fueling that kind of growth?
I think it's probably a combination of things. You've got increasing internet access in India, data plans becoming more affordable, and maybe even just the way the matches are presented digitally.
Right.
Making them more accessible to a wider audience.
Now, on the PSL side, they had about 150 million digital views for the 2024 season,
Okay.
according to Najam Sethi. So still a big number, shows they've got strong engagement online. But it is obviously a different scale compared to the IPL's massive audience.
Right.
And it's not just about who's watching online either. Think about the in-person experience.
Yep.
You've got the Narendra Modi Stadium in India with a capacity of 130,000 people.
That's unbelievable.
It is. And then you compare that to the Gaddafi Stadium in Pakistan, which holds about 27,000. The difference in potential audience size is huge.
Yeah, but what I find really interesting is that Our sources say that PSL games, especially the evening matches, are often packed to the rafters, even with those smaller stadiums.
Yeah.
It suggests that they've got this incredibly dedicated local fan base,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even a more intense atmosphere relative to the size of the venue.
Yeah.
So it raises a really interesting question about what constitutes success in terms of audience, you know?
Right. Is it about the sheer numbers, or is it about the passion and engagement of the fans you have?
Directly.
So IPL's got the volume. The PSL seems to have that dedicated core following.
Yep.
Now let's talk about the stars, the players themselves, who are these leagues attracting.
Okay.
Well, the IPL, with its, financial muscle, it attracts the biggest names in world cricket.
For sure.
Consistently see those elite international players like Pat Cummins, Joss Butler, alongside this incredible pool of Indian talent.
It's a pretty potent combination,
Yeah, the high salaries, the global exposure, it's a big draw.
No doubt about it.
Now, the PSL, they have their own stars, of course. Players like Babar Azam, Shaheen Afridi, they're absolute icons in Pakistan.
Yeah, they're huge over there.
And they do manage to attract some big names internationally. Kieran Pollard's a good example.
Absolutely. I think the PSL is built around that strong core of local heroes who have these massive fan followings.
Yeah.
And then they strategically bring in overseas players to add that extra experience and star power.
Right. But as we talked about earlier, the budget limitations and geopolitical factors sometimes limit their access to the very top players consistently.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor.
But what I find really interesting about the PSL is its reputation for producing these high-quality fast bowlers.
They're known for it.
In fact, our sources show that the average run rate in the 2023 PSL was actually lower than the IPL.
Really?
Which suggests a different style of play, maybe more dominated by pace bowling.
It's a fascinating contrast to the high-scoring, batting-heavy matches that we often see in the IPL.
So as a viewer, you might go into a PSL game expecting a different kind of contest.
Yeah.
More of a battle between bat and ball.
Absolutely.
Now let's dive into the history a little bit, who's been winning these things.
Okay.
Well, the IPL, with its longer history, has seen a good spread of winners. Actually, 7 different franchises have taken home the title.
Okay.
Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings, though they stand out with 5 titles each, showing some real periods of dominance.
So a bit of a 2-horse race at the top there.
Yeah, you could say that. And how about the PSL?
Well, Islamabad United, they're the most successful so far, with 3 titles. And, reflecting its shorter history, the overall stats are a bit different in the IPL. Virat Kohli's racked up a ridiculous amount of runs, over 8,000, and Yuzvendra Chahal leads the wickets taken with 205.
Wow.
Then in the PSL, Babar Azam's the leading run scorer with over 3,500, and Wahab Riaz has the most wickets with 113.
It just highlights how much longer the IPL's been around all those seasons, building up those stats.
Exactly.
But looking ahead, there's a potential issue brewing for the PSL, isn't there? Our sources talk about a scheduling clash in 2025.
Right, this is a big one for the PSL to figure out.
Yeah, the ICC Champions Trophy is set for 2025, and it clashes with the IPL's usual window of March to May.
Oh, wow.
This could seriously impact the PSL's ability to attract top international players.
Yeah, given those big IPL contracts and the exposure it offers, a lot of international players are going to prioritize that if the dates clash directly.
So it could dilute the talent pool available for the PSL that year.
Yeah, it could be a significant blow.
Yeah.
While the PSL has tons of talented local players who form the core of the league, having those big international names adds a different level of excitement and global appeal.
Right.
Plus, their presence can really elevate the performance of the local players just through sharing their experience.
Yeah. It's a tough situation for the PSL to navigate.
It really is. It raises this question of how they're going to maintain their competitive edge and that international appeal with this head-to-head clash against the IPL behemoth.
Okay, so let's wrap this up with a little summary. What are the key takeaways here?
All right, well, the IPL, it's the clear leader when it comes to scale, money, and reach.
Yeah.
It's the giant, known for its glitz and glamour in those high-scoring matches.
And the PSL.
Well, they've carved out their own space, known for their focus on bowling talent and just their rapid growth in this really competitive global T20 landscape.
They've done well to establish themselves.
Yeah, they really have.
So for someone out there wondering which league is better...
I don't think there's a simple answer to that.
Yeah.
It really comes down to what you value as a fan or even as a player.
Right.
Do you want those star-studded lineups and the fireworks of the IPL? Or do you prefer maybe a slightly tighter, more strategic contest and that strong local connection to the PSL?
I think they both offer something unique to the world of cricket.
I completely agree.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here. The history, the finances, the fans, the players, even a potential challenge on the horizon, it's clear that both the IPL and the PSL are major players in shaping the T20 landscape.
And they're only going to continue to evolve and grow.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, I think it's interesting to think about how these two contrasting models, the IPL's financial dominance versus the PSL's agility and focus, will influence the future of the sport.
It's a great question.
What will determine their long-term success beyond just money and viewership?
Yeah. What are those factors that'll make a lasting impact on the game we love?
It's something for everyone to consider as they watch these two dynamic leagues continue their journey.
It's going to be fascinating to see what happens next.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive. It's been great breaking this all down with you.
It's been a pleasure.
And to everyone listening, be sure to check back for more deep dives into the world of sports.
We'll be exploring all sorts of fascinating topics.
Until next time.
Take care.